The wonders of life got the prettiest side for everyone to enjoy. Standing up close by the Christmas tree, glimmering light, I am right where I wanna be. I will be home for a couple of days, wander around with you. You and me in the cold, thought it'd never be true. Wherever I go, I got you. Oh, I have stopped running, there is no way trying. You better loosen your belt. Drinking hot wine by the fire, don't care of anything else. It's Christmas, and some kind of love, my friend. I pray it will never end. Do you like to be here too? It's Christmas, and outside snow's glistening. It's just you and me tonight. I'll spend all this Christmas with you.
Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melody and welcome to my Simple Valley home. Just in time for the holiday season, we are going to be decorating for Christmas. We're going to be decorating my dining room table today. We're going to be doing a DIY centerpiece, and we're also going to be decorating my little cottage shelf. So get yourself some hot cocoa, get cozy, and let's go ahead and start decorating. With 3 weeks away from Christmas and I am ready to host, I want to get all my little spaces all ready to go. And one of my favorite little areas to decorate is definitely my little cottage shelf. The most easy way to change your home for the holiday season is definitely adding different prints. This beautiful joy print I got from Goodwill, it was my most recent find. I wanted to add a little bit of whimsy to this corner, just bring some texture. So I bought this beautiful red velvet ribbon from Amazon. I'll leave it in the description box down below. I simply attached it to the wall by using painter's tape and making a simple bow to add some wire, and this is what I'm going to be using to place it on the top of my picture frame. When I wanted to decorate this little shelf, I wanted to use the same method as I did for fall. Just keep it very simple and pretty much the same template. So to start off with, I'm going to add my books to the left-hand side, and one of my favorite books that I'm going to have to use for Christmas is definitely my Christmas Stories by Charles Dickens. I am going for a very Nancy Meyers aesthetic this year for my Christmas. I want that vintage lived-in feel, so one of the things that I have to have is definitely some blue and white. Instead of a plate, I'm going to be digging out my vintage silver. I just want everything to sparkle in my space, and this definitely screams Christmas to me. To add that final touch and also to draw your eye up on this beautiful cottage shelf, I wanted to add more silver. These beautiful little salt and pepper shaker birds I use for springtime, and I think it adds that perfect winter interest in this space. Making memories in my home is definitely on my top list, and family gatherings is one of them. I wanted this space to feel extra special, so when I spotted this gorgeous wool rug from Goodwill this year, I knew I had to take it home, especially it being only $20. With this beautiful oil painting right next to my dining room, I definitely wanted to make it extra special and festive. So I added this secondhand garland. I attached it to the wall by using command strips. This garland was a work in progress. It was a little ragged when I picked it up, so I definitely had to make sure that everything was stripped just perfectly. I added some Hobby Lobby bells that I simply draped over to the top and added more of that red velvet crushed ribbon just to create more texture. Now let's go ahead and start decorating, and I never want to miss my chandelier. This is just as important as the tablescape. We are going to be adding napkin ring holders. Yes, I said it, not candle ring holders, napkin ring holders from Pottery Barn. I love this. It creates that perfect impact, and it's not that expensive because it came in a pack of 4. Now you can go ahead and stop here with the napkin ring holders, but I'm going to add a bit of Christmas nostalgia by using some beads. I love these. I've grew up with them. They're actually from my family tree. They are a hand-me-down from my mother, and I'm so happy to have them in my home. With Instagram and TikTok going bow crazy, yes, I'm going to be one of those gals. I already went nuts with the bows this season, and I'm going to add more. I have more of that ribbon from Amazon. I even picked up green. We are going to be making more bows. I decided to do this rather than tie it on my chandelier. That way I can control how I want my bows to look. So we are going to add wire to the back. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and make this centerpiece, and I just gathered up everything that I want and hands use. I really highly suggest when you guys are making centerpieces or any type of flower arrangement, you have everything laid out so it creates your story. It makes it easier for you to grab, kind of like shopping your home. And I decided that I wanted to use some flowers in this beautiful vase that I got, this trophy that I ended up getting from Junk Stock. If you missed that video, I'll leave it in the description box down below. When I saw this beautiful trophy, I immediately knew that I wanted to make a center. Thinking of something, you know, usually I make my centerpieces with poinsettias, but I decided I want to do it a little bit differently this year. So I thought that paper whites would be the thing to do. One, it's airy. Two, it brings a sense of like vintage nostalgia. And I picked up these beautiful paper whites from Lanahaw Nursery for $17.99. I'll try to find them online or even on Amazon and leave them in the description box down below. But I just wanted to create something that had impact. So this is my thriller. My spiller is going to be all my greenery, kind of drapey. So this right here, I got these from Amazon. I'll leave them in the description box down below as well. I love that they're kind of like the Norfolk greenery. So they just kind of overhang and they just create that like stunning feature that you want to be spilled out of your centerpiece. And I love using fruit. I have this fruit for quite some time. I think I got it from Joann's or Michael's, and I love these. I've used them for years after years. So guys, if you ever see fruit, dried fruit even, pick them up, create them in your kitchen, use them in your centerpiece. Like they just create like this different take than your typical flower that you have in your arrangement. Okay, let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to be using a stem that I've had for quite some time and spread it out, kind of creating like a little flower frog. I find this a lot easier than using styrofoam. One, because we have to use it to attach these beautiful paper whites. I'm going to be adding them in the middle, and I'm going to be using these branches kind of like zip ties, tying them around and getting them perfectly placed so that way they do not move in my centerpiece. Now that our paper whites are in place, I want to create more bulk. So that way my stems, when I start fluffing everything together, it has a place to attach to or simply pin it to. So I'm going to add some of that leftover garland I had hanging on my painting that I cut off. And I'm going to basically wrap this around. Again, creating like a little cushion so that way my stems that I attach here has a place to hold. Now that our bulk is ready to go and act as our pin cushion, we are going to take our spiller and we're going to take those Norfolk pines and we're going to divide it into 3 without cutting it. We're going to place it at the end and we're going to take each section and lace it into that bulk garland. We don't want to just simply set it on top. We want to fluff it in. We want to take each little stem and weave it through, kind of like sewing. Also kind of like growing outside. Things don't just spill on top, they weave through each other. Now that we got our spiller done, we are going to fluff in our fillers, and I'm going to be doing that by just gathering a whole bunch of stems with different texture, and we're going to place it in the middle. We're going to start building our centerpiece in the middle to make sure that everything looks as natural as possible and also filled in. And again, we are not going to set it on top. We are going to lace it through each other, just making sure that everything is fluffed together. Now I wanted to fill in the gaps with this Norfolk and also add different texture and pine cones, so I had some extra stems and I'm going to fold them in half and kind of place them in the bare spot areas right next to the Norfolk pine. Now that our bulk is finally done, we got our filler, we got our spiller, now we're going to add some different texture of pine and also boxwood. So I'm going to start with the pine or cedar. We're going to cut it in half. I want to use these as little stem pieces just to create more interest. I'm going to use the big stems to place underneath the Norfolk and then the top pieces to place in the middle. Now let's go ahead and add our boxwood. I always find when you add a dried element to your centerpiece, it just makes it come to life. I picked up this boxwood from Lanahan Nursery, the same place that I got my paper whites. I spotted it and I knew I had to have it. I'm going to place it in my centerpiece. There really is no right or wrong way to add it to your centerpiece. I find when you find an area that needs a different texture, that's where you're going to put it. So I have this bowl of giant fruit of different sizes and shape. And I really want to fill in the centerpiece here because it's starting to look a little bit bare. It's just all one color. And so the textures did it for me. I'm definitely going to add more pine cones. And we're also going to add some berries and possibly, depending on how it comes together, let's do some ornaments just to kind of add that shiny factor to it. So when I have my fruit, I have it, I'm sure you guys have noticed, I have toothpicks here and I just stuck them on the bottom of this fruit. And this acts as kind of like a skewer to stick inside. Even though I don't have styrofoam, I still want to be able to control my movement of my fruit. So I'm going to go ahead and lift some areas just so that way the greenery has a place in between each fruit. So sometimes you just have to mess with it, guys, to get it as you want it in there. Okay, so there we go. So I have an apple. Let's go ahead and use a pear on the other side. So I think what I'm going to do is probably use these as my main and then fill in the gaps with the minis. So I grabbed some pine cones, different sizes, and I also decided to grab some walnuts. I thought that would be kind of fun to kind of nestle them in. It kind of creates a little bit different of a texture. I had some laying on my table in my living room. And so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of nestle these in as so. I prefer the long ones just because they kind of have a stick out texture, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to decorate with. And I'm going to nestle this one on this side and turn around on the other side. And I'm going to go ahead and nestle this one on the opposite side of the pine cone. So they're going opposite of each other. And then this one, these two are kind of together a little bit. So that looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and fill them up with the smalls. And I kind of want to do opposite colors of each other. So this one, gold one will go right here. We'll get pomegranate. Let's do a pomegranate kind of over here. Maybe this one's a little bit darker. There we go. Fruit is kind of spread out throughout the centerpiece. It's not so much too perfect. We'll get it, I think what we'll do is we'll probably end up having it full in the middle and then just kind of weave it in and out on the sides here. I don't know if you guys can see. See, I kind of took this one right here and kind of tucked it underneath. And then this just kind of has a barrier in between with the greenery. So the greenery is sticking in between the fruit. I also have my boxwoods. I wonder if I have any extra. I do. I do have extra boxwoods that I can kind of weave in between the fruit to kind of create a little bit more of a texture. Okay, so that side I'm really happy with. This side I'm really happy with. And this side I want to work on because it's starting to look a little bit funky. So let's add another green, maybe a green pear. Pear and a pear. It just bugs me. I don't know about you guys when I have the same fruit next to each other. That just kind of, it just makes me, I guess my OCD kind of kicks in. Okay, so we got that. Let's go ahead and now sprinkle in some walnuts to kind of fill in the gaps. And again, it creates a different texture and it just is so fun. And I'm just gonna literally just put them in there. I'm not gonna even fuss with it because I don't wanna glue any of this, because if I glue it, guess what? I can't reuse any of this stuff. And I wanna be able to reuse it just because this is how I make my arrangements year after year, is by using the same greenery in different ways every season. And it just makes something so fun. And you don't really have to spend a lot of money doing it either.
Okay, that is looking super cute with the walnuts. Okay, I had some berries laying around, and I'm gonna go ahead and add that to here to see how it looks. We're just going to play. Ooh, I kind of like that. So I had extra berries, and this is the stems that it came with, and I just like the texture together, and I'm gonna go ahead and just plop her in there. And it also brings out the red in there. Oh, it looks so good. So this will actually bring some red to the centerpiece because my table runner is actually red as well. So this will actually lift that color in. I have opposite of each other. I'm going to do one over here, probably a third one just because it's such a primary color. I want to make sure that it doesn't stand out too much, but it's enough to make impact. So usually 3 is the way to go. 4 just makes it a little bit too symmetrical. So I'm gonna create like a little triangle. Leave a comment down below, guys, if you like to decorate your centerpieces traditional, or do you use, like fun, like frosty, gingerbread themed. Just something cool that, you know, you love to make with your centerpieces. Do you like just to use candles, for example? And this is looking so good. I am very happy that I ended up choosing paper whites versus poinsettias. This is looking so pretty. I absolutely love it. So let's go ahead and continue on with decorating the remaining of the tablescape, but so far I am in love with this. This is so beautiful.
To start decorating this tablescape, I'm going to be pulling the red from those red crushed velvet bows by using this velvet runner that I got from HomeGoods last year. I wanted to create that Nancy Meyers aesthetic by using these beautiful scallop plaid tablecloths that I also picked up from HomeGoods. I could not get enough of these. I ended up keeping them. I wasn't sure about the texture, but I'm glad that I kept them just to create the base. Now we are going to layer this little tablescape, and I'm going to be using these chargers that I also got from HomeGoods just to create our base. I wanted to make sure that this plaid was kind of pulled in a different take by using napkins. I'm going to do a little bit different method by simply placing it on top of the chargers and tucking it in. I find that it brings a casual feel without being too fussy, and yet I don't have to spend extra money on napkin ring holders. I'm going to be pulling in blue and white in this space throughout my home for Christmas, and I'm going to be using these thrifted plates that I got from Facebook Market. And I also decided to pull out my 12 Days of Christmas plates. This little partridge in a pear tree plate will be placed on top. Not only is it adorable, but it will definitely create conversation for my guests. Little at a time, I love to create simple spaces that make it feel like home, and I definitely want to add more blue and white in this space and just to create a little bit of vintage touches. So I had leftover blue and white plates and I put it on top of my candlestick holders. I love that it adds a little bit of color on the walls, but yet a lived-in feel.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll talk a cup of kindness yet for days of old lang syne. And here's a hand, my trusty friend, and here's a hand of thine. We'll talk a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll talk a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. Should old acquaintance